Hi, everybody. This is Patti Negri, and welcome to My Haunted Journal. Hi, everybody. Patti Negri here, and welcome to my new podcast. Hopefully, you heard the first one last week where I talked about my very first show outside the broom closet when I came out of the closet as a witch, as a medium, as a psychic. And this week, we actually have a name for the show. Welcome to Patti Negri's Haunted Journal. Because a journal sort of means that's like behind the scenes, what's going on behind in the background that you don't always see. So that's what we're going to talk about on my haunted journal. So again, last week I talked about my first time doing this psychic stuff on television and how it came about. And then I started doing every show out there because I'm in the middle of Hollywood. So I was working all these different reality shows and all these different things. But the one that everybody always asks about, of course, is everybody's favorite Ghost Adventures. So here's how I got my very first episode of Ghost Adventures way back in 2015. Well, I am a Hollywood girl, and I'm actually very active with things. I'm on the board of the Hollywood Arts Council, where we support the arts in all its glory. We bring art into the elementary schools for kids. We support the theater arts, the fine arts, the music arts in all forms. Okay, and as you know, every nonprofit, you have to do fundraisers to keep it going so you could put the art in schools. So, me being out of the closet, we started to do spirit salons. So, not like a plain old, we're putting on our black jeans and our black t shirt and getting our K2 meter and going to all the haunted places in Hollywood. No, no, we did it upscale. My husband's jazz band would play, and the people from the community would come all dressed up in 1930s, 1940s clothes, old Hollywood. There'd be cigarette girls outside to greet them. We would do it things like the Hollywood Athletic Club, the Hollywood Towers, and the American Legion Hall. And one day we were at the American Legion Hall doing this elegant party with everyone dressed to the nines in that nice vintage style. There's my husband's band playing up on the thing in this beautiful old Art Deco bar downstairs at the American Legion. The American Legion is very storied because it was started by Hollywood celebrities in and during and after the early wars, and everybody who was anybody hung out there. Marilyn Monroe got discovered there. Everybody got discovered there, and it was the place to be. And anyway, I'm doing my high-end fancy, let's walk around and talk to the ghosts. Again, in our high heels, of course, very different than most of the shows. But all of a sudden, I am in that bar and I'm talking to somebody, not even on the tour. And right next to me is Charlie Chaplin. Yep. Charlie Chaplin is sitting on the booth next to me. Not an actor or an imitator or a Hollywood lookalike. The real Charlie Chaplin in spirit was sitting on the bar next to me. He wasn't even dressed like Charlie Chaplin, but I knew who he was. And I'm like talking to him, and we're talking to him. And I didn't know if anybody noticed because everybody's having drinks and cocktails and listening to that fine jazz band. And I'm talking to Charlie Chaplin, and he's telling me things like he was back and he's great. And I'm like, I'm just going to go on with this. I talked to people at parties, and he was telling me how he's back because apparently he had been kicked out of the club during some big, they used to have a communist scare or something way back in one of the wars, and he was kicked out of this club that he liked to hang out with all the stars and all the celebrities. Well, now that he's dead and now that that communist scare is over, he got to come back. So I had this beautiful conversation with him. I did my ghost tours. We made some money for the art to put art into the elementary schools for the kids. We danced and we went home. A little while later, I get a call from Ghost Adventures, a show I knew, a show that I liked. I wasn't an aficionado of it by any means, but they called me. They said, "We are filming here at the American Legion Hall, and we hear that you had an encounter with Charlie Chaplin." I go, "Yeah, I did." And they go, "Could you film?" And they go, and I live like a minute and a half away. I'm like, "Sure." So they gave me a time to go, and I went down there, and I knew the show, but I wasn't an overly aficionado. I remember hanging out there with Billy and Jay on the outside going, you're the new guys, right? And Billy's like, we are not the new guys. We've been on the show for 5 years. I go, oh, but you just moved up in the ranks. I get it now. Used to just be the equipment techs. Now you're like part of the stars of the show. But again, I started creating relationships with these beautiful men right away, and kind of like I fit right in because I'm used to being married to a musician, and I just know that guy world. So we just started fitting in. But I hadn't met Zach yet, and I hadn't gone inside. So then I went inside, and I literally was just called in. I think they just knew who I was because the person had said that I had had an experience there. Every show, if you've been watching Ghost Adventures for all 100 years it's been on, they always have that local witness. They always have sometimes they have that local psychic or medium who've experienced thing. They have the local investigator, wherever you are, all over the country, all over the world. Well, I was just that person. I was that person who had experienced something, and Zach had heard that I had talked to Charlie Chaplin. So I went in, and so we had our first everything on camera, because everything is on camera. Zach wants everything fresh, everything real, everything in the moment, which is why it's so great. Walked in, and I kind of explained to him where I had talked to Charlie Chaplin and what had gone on and what he had said. And then Zach kept going. This chair right here. Right, this chair. This bar stool right here. Yeah, this bar stool. And then he goes, well, do you know that this is the exact chair that Charlie Chaplin sat in every single Friday night? And I went, no, I didn't know that. I mean, I had just talked to him at a party. I didn't know that. But apparently somebody from the club hadn't learned that I had done that. And apparently I had picked out Charlie Chaplin's exact chair. So I guess Zach was whatever impressed by that, and I explained what he was doing, and I explained. So that really should have been the end of it. I was that local expert that came on, except that I hit it off with all the guys really well. And I think he thought I was good enough of a psychic medium, talk to the dead person, that he held on to it. And then all of a sudden, not too much later, I get another call from them, and maybe they figured out who I was again because I was in Hollywood doing this. Maybe they talked to other people. I don't know how that works. I really don't. But all of a sudden, they're going, we are going to the Black Dahlia house, and we would really like a seance. We would really like someone to talk to the spirits there. Can you come out and do that? And I'm like, you betcha. And thus my career with Zach Bagans, Aaron, Jay, and Billy, and the beautiful Ghost Adventures crew so began.